Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome. It's Excoundrel, your millennial dad gamer here. We're going to be talking about MoCo. We're going to be having a talk about the game itself today because it's been out just over a week and I have a lot of thoughts. Just before we get into it though, I love the game. Really do love the game. Played a lot of hours in it. You can see I'm Elite Hunter level 41. I have grinded the crap out of the game. I'm going to have a link to my group that I didn't realize I could have set up in advance. Probably should have had this way before. Group, I'm going to link, probably put that link in the description and pinned comments so you guys can get to it. But yeah, come and join. What we're going to be doing is just talking a little bit about MoCo, but a little bit of a surprise. Not making a separate, maybe I'll make a separate video about this. In the background, I'm just going to literally be showing you running through hard dojos. So I completed all of the hard dojos today. I'm just going to run through and show you the strategies and the builds that I was using whilst I talk about MoCo. I might make a separate video about it, but in the meantime, if you want to know some hard dojo strategies, they're all in this video. Okay, so I do want to say, if anyone from Supercell is watching, I don't know if anyone from Supercell watches this, but you created a beautiful game. It absolutely is just incredible. I've sunk so many hours into it. However, I am feeling like the depth is lacking, and that might be an intentional design choice. That's okay if it is. It just feels that there isn't, like, once you get to a certain point, even when you get to Elite Hunter, the gameplay loop doesn't feel particularly satisfying. I mean, like, the dojos are fun, don't get me wrong, and if you have friends to do rifts, that's a really important point. If you have friends to do rifts, they can be quite fun. But they're often to, like, I guess, like, apropos of nothing. Like, at the end of the day, like, you're doing it to get more XP, to get extra levels on your power rings, which in Elite Hunter, eventually, it will just be extra levels on your power rings, to get more XP, or to do harder content, to get more XP, to get more, levels on your power rings. I feel like I really would love it, and I don't know how you guys feel about this. I would really love it if there was something a little bit more rewarding to get in terms of rewards. Like, I'm not saying that we need to go full ARPG here and have, like, gear slots with random, stats and all that kind of jazz. But I think I would like something like that. Maybe there is a gear slot design that does have random stats that's more of a drop chance related thing rather than a strict level up related thing. Because it would give people something to grind for, something to keep playing the same boss over and over again for. Like, I think that's one of the core thematics about this game that I feel just goes against the genre that it's kind of playing into. Like, this is very much an ARPG. Like, it plays very similarly to most ARPGs in the sense that you're, essentially monster smashing massive groups using, abilities and weapons to do that for you. But most ARPGs, they play into that sort of having something to grind for, like having something to constantly come back to, and constantly push for, or constantly level up and constantly find incremental improvement. Whereas on this, it doesn't really feel like that we've got that, and that maybe I'm missing something. Maybe there is something to keep that pool going. But for me, like, I don't think it's quite there yet. I think I would really love to have something in this game where I could say, oh man, I can't wait to just put 50 runs in on this one particular rift boss because they can drop this item with these types of stats that's going to take my character to the next level. And look, don't get me wrong, there's chapters, right? They're going to have Elite Chapter Level 1, Elite Chapter Level 2. They are obviously going to iterate and build on systems in this game. I'm just hoping that maybe they think about that kind of system. Like, I really do feel like there's just something missing from the end game right now. Even though content is fun, like dojos are challenging and rifts are great, open world stuff is basically just like I'm completing projects. And, I've even had to go back to old worlds and just mindlessly grind 500 kills on slashers because I have to do it because there's really just one of the only things that I can do because there's nothing else going for it. So I just think that that's my one thing that I would love to see from the game. Just something a little bit more concrete and substance filled in the late game. It just, like I said, it just feels like there's something missing there. The other thing, and this is purely because I'm talking about something from because the end game is lacking, I feel like they should give more attention to PvP. There are a few things wrong with PvP right now. One of them is that there are just far too many game modes. Like, when you unlock Elite Hunter, there are 5 different PvP game modes. No one's going to play all 5 of those. They are relentlessly hard to grind to black belt in. You have to do it separately in every queue. The elite ones, especially the sort of the 40 player ones, are basically just full of bots at the moment. Maybe that'll get better as time goes on, but PvP there's too many split queues. Like, I really feel like they should focus in on the core ones that people like, and I genuinely think that there's probably room for a 1v1, maybe a 2v2, and then potentially just a full team one. Potentially they bring out clans down the line, and you maybe have like a clan war style battles, which could be pretty cool. But there are too many queues, and then there are also the pre-elite queues and the post-elite queues. And I get the pre-elite queues are to kind of mitigate level differences and things, and mitigate equipment differences, but also that's just another set of queues to split the player base into. And I personally prefer the pre-elite queues because I actually quite like the restrictions on some of the items you can use, and it kind of makes things feel a bit more kind of like level, I guess. The other thing is that rewards, I mean, look, rewards across the board are just full of, it's just XP, but rewards for PvP are abysmal. Like, getting to like the next belt level, which takes a good long while, you get like 3 or 4k XP, maybe 2k XP sometimes. Like, it just doesn't feel worth it. There is nothing to play for in PvP. The leaderboard doesn't get you anything. Like I said, because rewards are really just limited to XP, like they could give chaos cores for placement in PvP, right? Or, wouldn't help everybody, but I'm sure everybody loves chaos cores. Or they could give chaos shards, or just something extra outside of just a flat amount of basic HP would be really nice in the PvP system. I'd even love maybe like a pure 1v1 duels type of PvP system. I mean, there is stuff they can do with it, but yeah, it does just feel a little bit shallow on the PvP side, and there isn't much reason to play it over the PvE content. And maybe Supercell's decision is, hey, we think this is primarily a PvE game, which, do you know what? Love that. There aren't enough games that do that, to be completely honest with you. But PvP is often where you'll end up sort of having your most competitive players situated, and you kind of want to give them a reason to keep playing. And right now, there isn't much reason to play PvP at all. It's just kind of meh, like there's no major reason to play PvP. And I think that's something else that is kind of somewhat hindering the game in the late game as well, because PvP often is a late game endeavor for a lot of players. So I think you can kind of see where my core issues with the game lie, in the sense that the late game just doesn't feel very engaging or rewarding. And that's because the sort of the main late game mechanics, like rifts, and I mean, actually, I will say, I love solo dojos. You can see here, they are really fun and genuinely have a lot of cool tactics and thought process that go into them. And rifts are the same, but again, there isn't much to genuinely keep replaying that kind of content for. And right now, there isn't also rewards for pushing rifts like you would get in like Diablo Immortal or other ARPGs. So I think there are just some endgame systems that can be tweaked to make the game feel more engaging, a little bit more complex at the later stages. And I know this is designed to be simple, to kind of reduce player pain when onboarding and try and increase retention. But the problem is that I think this is probably great from a D7 retention. But then it's gonna, once you start looking at D30 retention stats, you'll probably find that a lot of people have dropped off, because like kind of once you've got to Elite Hunter, a lot of people have said, well, I don't really understand what I'm grinding for. Like, I've got to Elite Hunter, and don't get me wrong, power rings are cool, and they definitely unlock some new builds, but they're not like completely game changing or game altering. You know what I'm saying? And then, like I said, the other PvP, the other endgame system is PvP, where I feel like it could really do with some work to be a very, very core part of that late game kind of like player cycle. But like I said, these are only 2 very small qualms with the game. Like, right now I'm still having a blast because I've still got lots to do. Like, if you're like me and you just like checklists, like projects are great. Like, there's checklists to check off. I've got my solo dojos to keep pushing my time on. If I had friends, I'd play rifts. I do have friends. I actually play with some really, really, really good players, but not that often, because frankly, I'm just trying to find time to play with people. like, here we go. Here's another thing. This kind of just reminded me. The social system in this game is a bit meh. Parties are confusing and difficult to set up. And on top of that, like, you can't DM people. Now, I also know why you can't DM people. Like, I think if anyone played the event that was just on, is on this weekend, you'll probably realize why you can't DM people. You'd probably be adding someone after that event and calling them all kind of names under the sun. But it would be nice to have some kind of more robust communication method other than just like strictly chat rooms. But yeah, like the whole party system and friend system, I think needs a little bit of work. I'd also love for there to just be more passives and more gear, which I'm certain they're going to add down the line. But obviously, me being me and anybody that's kind of an engaged player is like, oh man, I want more and I want it right now. I think that's one of the problems as well. I think this is just a problem with games in general. Most developers aren't developing games especially mobile games, to expect players to like literally spend 40 hours playing it in the first week and then wonder where all the content's gone. and to be fair, even if you have spent 40 hours playing it in the first week, there's still a lot of content. It's just not. It's like a rinse and repeat content, right? Once you get to the corrupted, the hards, the nightmares, it is just like the same stuff you've done before, but harder. And a lot of games do that. It's not like that's unfamiliar. Like, you know, Diablo has normal, nightmare, and hell, you know, in its original difficulty scaling. So it's not like this is not an unfamiliar territory for ARPG players. It's just that, you know, again, there's not much reason to do it other than just, hey, more XP for more levels in my power rings and the potentially a chance to get, you know, chaos cores. And I think that's just, for me, like one of the small things that is kind of limiting my true, like, sort of very high level engagement in the game the later that you go. But hey, like, tell me what you think. They're kind of like my core points. So I'm done talking. Hopefully you also like learn a little bit about hard dojos. Feel free to copy the builds and give it a go.